What up, gang of Lane, Carolina Jackpot Time coming at you on Tuesday morning. Hope everyone's doing well today. It's about 6:30 a.m. It's actually a little bit lighter outside when I'm heading down to start my route today. I worked one of my stores yesterday that I normally work on Tuesday because I had been by Sunday. So I hired a guy. Well, I didn't hire a guy. I got recommended a guy who's in college, and his dad runs a route for Little Debbie, and he's going to do some work for me on the weekend. I'm going to pay him a little bit of money to go pull up some of the stores and straighten them up. So hopefully I don't have to come down here on Sundays anymore, because it is an hour and 10 minutes from my house to the first stop that I make every day, which is either Walmart in Greenwood or Publix / Food Line in Greenwood. It's a long way, and it gets tiring. And I worked that other store because it looked bad on Sunday when we went in there to check it out, the Walmart, and now I don't have to work it today. So I got to sleep in just a little bit late, which is rare. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit of college football and some stuff. Down in the description box below, I'm going to link it. Feel free to watch this video and go over there and troll them. It's about a 55-minute long video, so I don't expect you to watch all of it. But you can watch some of the highlights. I left a few choice comments over there. It's the Kentucky Sports Radio people crying again. The Nick Roush guy is on there. You know, the one with the woo, woo, get the woo out of here. The one that always starts every video off with a blank team sucks. Yeah, those bunch of disingenuous fools. And missing from there, Matthew Jones, of course, is missing from there as usual. But they cry for about 50 minutes about their program and Mark Stoops and we're the blue Vanderbilt again and yada yada yada. And yeah, well, I mean, you always were. I mean, it's you had a couple of decent seasons, but it's fool's gold. And Mark Stoops screwed your program. He basically screwed you over last year, number one, by getting online, or not online, but getting interviewed, I believe, by you people, and basically letting the entire free world know that Kentucky doesn't have any money because they're not supporting their football program. He let everybody know, hey, y'all want us to start winning some games, start giving some money so we can go out and buy some players like Georgia does. That's what he said. That's what the man said. So you knew right then that he was unhappy being there, and then he was going to just pull up and leave you kind of like Steve Spurrier left us, like the deadbeat dad, because he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be there. He wanted to be at Texas A&M. He wanted that job. And then there was a revolt. So, I mean, I wonder what goes into that. Who makes the decision? I guess whoever makes the decision to hire him really doesn't make the decision. Is it that way in all hires across the country? That whoever makes the decision to hire you really doesn't make the decision? Because the boosters kind of revolted. And they said, no, we don't want you. We don't want you. Well, I mean, how you doing now? How y'all doing now? 1-1. Y'all both 1-1. Both y'all teams are 1-1. And South Carolina's 2-0. Is it a solid 2-0? Somewhat. That was a solid performance. Solid on the defensive side of the ball, not solid on the offensive side of the ball. Not happy with the way the offense is playing yet, although it has started to improve a little bit on Saturday. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not going to deal with any more people coming over here on this channel. Well, I will deal with you. Telling me you're not a real fan, or jumping on my live stream and giving me one of the old don't cheer now. Look, I've been cheering longer, harder, louder, better and with more conviction than just most any Gamecock fan on the internet, unless you happen to be, at more advanced in age than you're not. And I'm not saying that to say I'm a better fan than you are. I'm just giving it as a point of reference. I'm not just some fair weather ding-a-ling on there yelling and criticizing just because I like to criticize. I'm criticizing because I want them to be better. I want them to be better. I want the best for them. And I know that team and that program is capable of great things. You're in a really good recruiting area. You're in the SEC. You have SEC money. You have top-notch facilities. You've got good weather. And I know, it's hot in Columbia, right? Yeah, it's hot there. But for the most part, I mean, you're not sitting here. When I say good weather, I'm just saying you're not faced with like brutal winters where the weather is nasty, where you're going to have cold rain throughout half the season. When you walk outside, generally, it's going to be warm. Now, I mean, is it humid? Yes, it is. It's humid in Columbia. But, go 20 miles one way or the other, and it's not as bad. So, that's kind of silly. It's a good place to be. It's a good place to have a football program. In other words, you're in a good position to have a really good football program, and we have not had that generally over the years, except for a few little pockets of time that we can look back and with lustful eyes wish that we were back in those days again, or wish those days would come back to us. And yes, I've been critical of Shane Beamer. I've been critical of some of his assistant coaching hires. I've been critical of some of the decisions they've made. I've been critical of the attitude in some of the press conferences, because eventually that can rub off onto your team. And it looks bad to not be professional with the media. So I've been critical of that, yes. Can I see that he's trying? Yes. Can I see that he loves what he's doing and that he has passion for it? Yes. There's just some things we need to get cleaned up and straightened up. And I think they are things that are correctable. But I will not stand for anyone to come on and tell me that I'm wrong for criticizing something that needs to be fixed. I can sit here and blow sunshine up your ass all day long. I'm not going to do that. It's just not my style. Mediocre to me is not the bar. Mediocre is not the bar. A bowl game is not the bar. Competing for a conference championship, being mentioned in the top 4, top 5 teams in the conference is where we should be. And I'm not going to stop pushing for that. And I hope that the powers that be don't stop pushing for that either. Because guess what? It just became even tougher when they added 2 more teams in who've got a pretty good football tradition and history that they're bringing with them. They've got some pretty solid pedigrees. So that's going to be an even tougher road to hoe. But I'm going to start keeping track this week. I'm going to start doing it this week. I'm going to start keeping track of the Josh Pate Oodles of Noodles Express that he puts up every week. This guy's an idiot. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I don't believe that he knows what he's talking about. I don't know if he comes up with all these things on his own, or if he's fed all of this stuff by producers who give him all the material for his show, and then he just goes out there and rattles it off. But last week he had South Carolina or Kentucky minus 9.5 against South Carolina as an Oodles and Noodles best bet. And then he had Clemson App State as a Oodles and Noodles best bet. Both of them got absolutely smashed. And just, I've got to wonder what his record is on the Oodles and Noodles best picks. So I'm going to start tracking it this year to see how shitty it is. Because I'm telling you that it's at least 40% or under. And that's bad. So if you're supposed to be a quote-unquote expert, talking head, You shouldn't be out here giving betting advice that looks absolutely dumb. Absolutely dumb. You could be like Carolina Jackpot, who got on here last week and bet some games, such as Missouri. Team total first half over 21. Check. Bowling Green minus 34.5 versus Penn State. Plus 34.5 against Penn State. Check. What else? Eastern Michigan plus 23.5 versus Washington. Check. Notice I didn't mention the UNC Charlotte. UNC Charlotte, North Carolina one that I gave out as a lock, stock, and two smoking barrels pick of the week. But it would have been if UNC's defense could have held them out of the end zone for one touchdown at the end. I'm not going to lay points with a Mac Brown team again. Because those teams his teams just seem lazy to me. I mean, they seem like they go out there and they do just enough to win. Now, they look really good against the Gamecocks week 1 last year. So they're kind of a chameleon. You don't ever really know when they're actually going to show up and play really well. It happens from time to time, but generally and for the most part, they go out and lay steaming turd burgers. Well, I see last year's game against Clemson. See last year's effort against Virginia. See their game against Georgia Tech recently when Georgia Tech was terrible. No more UNC on the card for the Carolina Jackpot. I don't like them anyway, so I shouldn't have backed them at all. But the Oodles and Noodles best bets, I'm going to track that this year. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll say, well, you know what? He actually got some of these right. It just happened to be those two that I picked on that weren't any good. But the disrespect that South Carolina got in the national media last week, some of it was a little bit overboard. Some of it was warranted. If I had been a member of the national media, I would have said, Kentucky looked a lot better in their week 1 effort than South Carolina did. Both these teams have probably about equal amounts of talent. Kentucky probably a little bit more solid right now at the quarterback position with a more experienced guy under center. Even though he has had a lot of game time reps, he's been in a really good program. I think that's going to give them the edge here. But I would probably see South Carolina covering this number. That's how I'd put it out. Instead of I can see Kentucky winning by 24 to 30 points. And see, people put too much stock in that week 1 game against Old Dominion. That was the problem. Old Dominion was not a bad football team. Now Old Dominion's sitting there 0-2, which is going to make them look like a bad football team. And they played a team that was pretty much on par with them. I think that game was just basically a relative pick'em versus East Carolina, and East Carolina beat them 20-14 at home. That's probably kind of a disappointing loss there for Old Dominion, but they're not a terrible football team. Southern Miss was a terrible football team, so we saw the difference there. But Kentucky's just not prepared. There's tons of excuses up there with those people. Were we fighting with each other? Blah blah blah. I mean, was it this? Was it that? I just think that they're just not prepared to run through a wall for Mark Stoops anymore, because your players know that he's really just not vested in the program. Brock Vandergrift coming there. I'm sure they dropped a ton of money on him. A quarterback is going to command a ton of NIL money. I'm sure they dropped a lot of money for him to come there. Elsewise, I'm sure he wouldn't have came there. I mean, because who wants to go play for a coach who's not even bought into the program? Some guy who's trying to leave. And I get it. The thing is, he was leaving for a better opportunity. It would have been a better opportunity. Texas A&M would have been a much better job than Kentucky. Can you imagine how many more resources he would have had at his disposal at Texas A&M than he would have had at Kentucky? So in that way, him being disingenuous and everything that everybody says is, that's kind of, you can look at it from that perspective and say, oh, maybe, he's just trying to better himself a little bit. The more and more I think about that. But at the same time, I think that the fact that he's actually built Kentucky into kind of what it is, which is a 7-5, 8-4 type program, the fans just felt a little slighted that he just acted like he didn't want to be part of that anymore. When in fact he probably just didn't want to be part of it. Not that he didn't want to be part of it, it's that he wanted to better himself. He wanted to make more money and he wanted to be at a better program, and you can't fault him for that. But the fans just didn't see it that way or feel that way. Because they know what's looming ahead. This was not a 7-5, 8-4 type program before. It was a 3-9 program. It was a 4-8 program. It was a losing to Vanderbilt type of program. It was a losing to South Carolina 54-3 program. I remember they did that once. Although the games have generally been close, even when South Carolina's been really good and Kentucky's been really bad, the games have been close. So, on to the LSU game. This is going to present a totally different new set of challenges for South Carolina. 110%. Offensive line for LSU is way better than the offensive line of Kentucky. Before the season, we thought Kentucky's offensive line was going to be good. Thought their offensive line was good in the game against Southern Miss. South Carolina proved that their offensive line is not good. That's going to present some challenges for South Carolina there. They're not going to be able to get the number of sacks on Nussmeier that they were able to get on ODU quarterback or on this guy, Vandegrift. I'm just going to put that out there and tell you right now, they're not going to be able to do it. If they are, then that defensive line, those defensive ends we have are just absolutely ungodly if they're able to do that, because LSU has one of, if not the best offensive lines in the country, have not allowed a sack all year. Now, in terms of quarterback pressures and stuff, I don't know. That may be the key. South Carolina, if they can't get him on the ground in terms of Nussmeier, getting quarterback pressure on him may be, force him into some mistakes, force him out of the pocket a little bit, make him uncomfortable. Don't let him sit back there all day and pick you apart. And I think that he's going to make some mistakes. He'll have some underthrows, some overthrows. And then he may take a sack or two. I don't know. If there's any team that's going to sack him, it's going to be South Carolina. I mean, eventually you've got to give up a sack. And it would be us, but I don't think you're going to be able to rely on having those kind of numbers against this dude with that offensive line. But flushing him out of the pocket, make him uncomfortable in our home environment, I think that you can somewhat neutralize their offense, because they don't. If you take that away, you're not going to take a passing game away, but if you somewhat limit it, they're going to have to try to rely on their run game, and they don't have a run game. Their running back got hurt in practice. I don't know who they're going with now. Somebody told me in the comment section they've got some freshman who's supposed to be really good. We'll see about that. Maybe he has a coming out party. I don't know, but they didn't rush him for 60 yards against FCS Nicholls State. So them rushing for a lot of yards against South Carolina is, I don't know. I think it's kind of highly unlikely. However, South Carolina seems to be more susceptible to the run. When the quarterbacks drop back, it's when South Carolina is more dangerous on defense. Defensive backs have got to play well. They got one really good receiver in Kyron Lacey. He's going to be the next in the line of Brian Thomas Jr.'s and Malik Neighbors, and before that, you had your Jamar Chases, you had your Justin Jeffersons, you had your name X receiver. I mean, it's been wide receiver U over the years, and while he looks like the only high quality NFL talent right now on the team, I'm sure there's some more on the roster there that are being developed quickly, and they'll be fine on that side of the ball. So defensively, they've given up 27 and 21 points so far this year. 21 points to Nicholls State, I think South Carolina can continue. I don't think South Carolina's going to go out there and hang 40 points on them, but I think that Sellers can continue his phase of getting comfortable and getting acclimated to what he's doing, getting acclimated to being the quarterback, being that guy. I think our wide receivers can get open and run some good routes. That offense can go a little bit. I'd like to see Rocket Sanders have a good game this week. I'd like to see 100 yards from him because he started building confidence in the second half of that game against Kentucky. You can see the old train starting to roll down. You can see the train. It started to leave the depot a little bit and pick up a little bit of steam as that game went on. Now it's not barreling full speed ahead down the tracks just yet, but you can see it start making its way towards its destination. So I'd like to see a 100-yard game from him. I don't know if they're going to get it or not. I think LSU's defense is improved under Blake Baker-Taker from Mizzou, that new defensive coordinator, but I mean, it's all right. It doesn't look like world beaters. Now it's going to be a good game. It's going to be an interesting game right now. Looking at it, I think the Gamecocks cover that spread. I think they're going to cover that number. I might be an idiot too, but my Oodles and Noodles Express might go off the tracks too. But just looking at that 7-point line right now, I'm not going to say it's disrespectful. I'm going to look at that in terms of, they're just looking at it in terms of a total team. LSU has more talent than what South Carolina has. LSU has better coaching than what South Carolina has. I mean, whatever, please don't sit here after we won one game and anoint Shane Beamer as, like Nick Saban Jr. in waiting, because it's not. That's another one that popped up in there. What you think about it now? What you think about it now? You think it needs to be fired now? Carolina Jackpot, you made that video. I love it. People love it. I don't. When I'm right about something, I'll have my little moment, but I don't sit here and beat my chest and point my fingers at people and yell and scream and try to push across the narrative that I was right, because guess what? If you're wrong and you're acting like that when you're right, you need to be just as quick to get on when you're wrong and tell people that you were wrong. And I will tell you that me picking Kentucky to win the game Saturday was wrong. I was wrong in that assessment. I was wrong. South Carolina proved me right. I'm glad that they proved me right. Or wrong. I'm glad they proved me wrong. Wrong, right. I'm trying to get everything. I'm getting it mixed up here. I'm glad that they proved me wrong on Saturday. So, I will tell you that. But one more thing before I get off here. If you watch these YouTube videos and you watch other channels and you want to, put something in my comment section, you want to ask me a question, you want to talk smack, you want to chop it up, you want to do whatever, chop it up on my comment section. Chop it up on my comment section. And what I'm saying when I say that is, don't go on somebody else's videos and leave comments in the comment section of their video and ask about Carolina Jackpot. Because I saw that the other day in the comment section on someone else's video. I wonder what that obnoxious Carolina Jackpot is doing today. Was written by some nameless, faceless type of troll on Sunday. Well, hey, nameless, faceless type of troll, if you'd like to know what Carolina Jackpot is doing today, all you got to do is come down in the comment section on my video and say, what are you doing today, Carolina Jackpot? And I feel like responding to you, I will. Okay? But you're not going to get that information from someone else who has no idea what Carolina Jackpot is doing today because they live hundreds of miles away from me. Just a bit of advice. Anyway, just to say, I read comments on other videos too. I know what's going on out there. When I have time. Sometimes my time is limited. Anyway, this video has went on really long. I'm starting to ramble here a little bit. And I'm almost at the Publix, so I'm going to see you guys later on. We'll be talking more LSU later on this week. And y'all have a great day. Peace, and I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks.